Today marks 22 years since the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. I'm live at the Arch Grounds with a memorial event happening today and more on how you can talk to your kids about 9/11 and other crisis events.
I'm at Scott Air Force Base with a look at today's Remembrance Day ceremony events and what it was like for one firefighter who was in Ground Zero on that fateful day.
O'Fallon, Missouri is honoring the victims of 9/11 with multiple events. I'll tell you about the schedule for today and show you some of the 9/11 artifacts on permanent display here behind City Hall.
And as the sun comes up, we have dry weather for now, but rain develops later today and into tonight with cooler weather on the way.
An important vote today in St. Charles County. Who could soon qualify for a break from property tax payments?
This is Today in St. Louis, focused on you.
Good Monday morning, everyone. We start with a live look at the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. It's the site where the World Trade Center once stood. Today, 22 years after the 9/11 attacks, our nation will come together once again to remember the lives lost on that day and in the years since. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, September 11th, 2023. I'm Rennie Knott.
And I'm Michelle Lee. Of course, we just want to say thanks for joining us, including those of you who might be watching us on 5+. And as we've, been talking about all morning, it is going to be a somber morning here on Today in St. Louis and also across the nation as people remember the lives lost on 9/11. It was so powerful, still is, but hard to really believe it's been 22 years ago.
I think there's an entire generation of people who only know the date by looking at a history book and learning about it that way. But so many of us were alive at that time and have those firsthand experiences. A lot of remembrances taking place throughout our area. How will the weather be for the people who want to go out and
Well, we have rain on the way this afternoon and evening, so depending on the timing of your outside events today, you may need an umbrella, or maybe just, if you have set plans with maybe the kids or the dog, you can maybe adjust them. But of course, a lot of those events are outside. Let's get to our weather first forecast. This morning, we're waking up with dry weather. But again, as we go through the course of the day, I think we will stay dry between now and say about 2, 3 o'clock this afternoon. After that, we'll start to see showers spread on in. But you can see the dry weather out across downtown, getting that first hint of daylight. The clouds will increase through the day, so we do become cloudy because of a cold front just to our west. That front is going to move through tonight and drop our temperatures for the next few days. So it's still mild out the door this morning at Lambert at 69, but there are some 50s away from Lambert, Flora, Mount Vernon. You're in the low 50s there. High temperatures today in the low 80s. The rain again holds off into this afternoon and evening, and it should not be anything too heavy and nothing severe this go round. We'll time out the rest of the week for you. That is coming up. Let's time out your morning commute and head over to Paul Cook. Paul, good morning to you on this Monday. What are you finding on our area roads?
Well, good morning to you, Anthony. We are not finding wrecks, crashes, or even stalls in the road. It's all about construction. And we're up north here near the West Alton area, and the beautiful Clark Bridge on your way to Alton or way out of Alton is dealing with a little bit of construction, working on cables today. That starts at 7 a.m. This is up near that area here with one of our cameras, and just volume very, very light, but starting to build. We're absolutely starting to see a few more cars out there. 270 at 44 is one that you might be finding delays on. And then also this is near the Boone Bridge at 6440, some construction there as well. Looking at the big map, you're moving very nicely. We'll have more traffic coming your way minutes away.
Today marks 22 years since the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon, and our Flight 93, which crashed into an empty field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
Nearly 3,000 people were killed on September 11, 2001, and more have died from health complications since. Today, there are multiple ways to honor them. And Alex Fees is live in O'Fallon, Missouri. Mercedes McKay is at Scott Air Force Base.
But we begin with our Sydney Stallworth with a memorial walk to the Arch and how you can talk to your kids about the tragic events like 9/11. Sydney?
Well, Rennie, Michelle, this morning, a decades-old tradition continues in St. Louis. Marchers will walk all the way from West County here to the Gateway Arch, and they're walking in remembrance of the devastation our nation felt on 9/11 and in honor of the lives that were lost. I'm going to show you some video here of a previous march so you can get an idea of how it works. The March to the Arch is a 21-mile memorial walk that steps off at 9/11 this morning at Mike Duffy's at 141 in Clayton Road, ending here on the Arch grounds. The first march started with one man and one flag. Word spread over the years, and now hundreds will walk the path to the Gateway Arch this morning. Our nation has made a promise to never forget, but days of remembrance like this one, with such a devastating impact on our country, can be pretty tough to explain to your kids. One child counselor reminds parents that kids can often process tough topics with patience on your part, and honesty is always the best policy.
Smart, and they feel out that honesty and that genuineness of the adult speaking to them. Adolescents and kids are just so impressionable and resilient, and so getting them at that age and getting the truth to them and how to process some of these stories just make them stronger as they grow into adults.
Now, you could even bring out your young ones to the march today. That could be a great way to start the conversation. And if you're thinking 21 miles is a long time, you don't have to walk the full length. You can join at any point along the route. You're just asked to bring an American flag with you to carry if you come. Rennie, Michelle?
Sydney, I'm sure that the counselor has some hard talks with kids just about every day. What does she say she hears from the kids while they're in school when anniversaries like today come around?
Well, Rennie, the most interesting thing that she said is that at this time and days like this, the school is like a mini community. So the things that we're talking about on the news, on social media, online, the kids are talking about the same things. And she says oftentimes parents want to protect their kids by not bringing up these topics or maybe filtering out information. I'm going to have more information from this counselor on why she says parents should not do that and tips on how you can start the conversations with your kids today. All of that in our next half hour. But for now, reporting live downtown, I'm Sydney Stallworth, 5 on your side.
All right, thanks so much, Sydney. Of course, we continue our team coverage now of 9/11 memorial events in our area. Our Mercedes McKay is live at Scott Air Force Base with how our local military service members are honoring those lost. Mercedes.
Good morning, Michelle. Scott Air Force Base will hold their 9/11 Remembrance Day ceremony here. That'll start about an hour and a half from now. Now, today's ceremony is all about remembering and honoring the thousands of lives lost 22 years ago, both civilians and first responders. This morning's ceremony starts at 7:30, consisting of a reveille with an honor guard of firefighters and security force members. That will be followed by a prayer, then speeches by Colonel Richard Kind, who is the 375th Air Mobility Wing Deputy Commander, and Chief Master Sergeant Tim Walsh, a retired fire chief. Now, last year, retired Fire Department Chief Dan Daly spoke at the ceremony. He was a first responder in Ground Zero on the day of the attack. In a moving speech, Daly shared some of his firsthand experiences.
When I stepped off the bus, everything was covered by a thick coating of dust. And it felt like after a snowfall, there was almost a quiet to it. But everybody was covered by dust as well and blood, and they were still headed north.
Daly lost 343 fellow first responders that day. One of them was his lifelong friend. Now, coming up in the next half hour, we'll hear more from Daly's experiences and how he found out about this tragedy 22 years ago today. Live at Scott Air Force Base, Mercedes McKay, 5 on your side.
Also in the Metro East, in just a few hours, a moment of remembrance ceremony takes place in Belleville. The ceremony starts at 11:30 this morning at the Firehouse number 4. There will be a keynote speaker and representatives from Belleville Fire and police departments.
This morning at the Today Show, we'll feature a live report from Ground Zero and the 9/11 National Memorial in Lower Manhattan. You can watch that live right here on 5 on your side right after the Today in St. Louis show wraps up at 7 o'clock.
All right, Rennie and Michelle, let's talk about our weather first forecast. And this morning we're keeping an eye west. You can see showers are developing west of town from Columbia into parts of Chicago, even Iowa and Kansas. This is a cold front making its approach to us, and it is going to bring a change in our weather this week. First, we'll have the rain that moves in this afternoon and evening, and then the cooler air will start to filter on in tomorrow through the rest of the week. But the showers should hold off until the evening rush hour, and those will continue to fall through the overnight hours. But first thing tomorrow when you wake up, rain will be ending. Notice how those temperatures come down. Afternoons pretty comfortable, but it's the morning that will be chilly with 40s and 50s area wide beginning on Wednesday. We'll talk about the weekend forecast as we warm back up. That's coming up.
9/11 Remember ceremonies are happening all around the bi-state. Our Alex Fees joins us with one that's taking place in St. Charles County, remembering this day.
Many in Illinois will soon feel the impact of the Safety Act, why some are critical of the new program starting up next week.
Mount Kilauea is erupting again in Hawaii. We'll bring you the stunning scene with a live look at the site.